Welcome back to Lab 04, Configuring and Deploying a Virtual Machine. This is Richard Golson, and let me walk you through the steps. Now, in this section, part 3, we're going to install the VMware Tools. And in this task, we're going to install the VMware Tools via the command line. So let's take a look at the steps here. We can see that we'll use the Install VMware Tools from the Virtual Machine menu here. And then we will switch a little bit later on to the terminal and run through a series of commands to mount the VMware Tools ISO to the CD/DVD-ROM. And then from there, we will, after mounting, navigate through the file system of that CD until we can run through the installer script, which will have a whole series of questions here. Ultimately, when we're done, we should see that the VMware Tools is running. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and log in. And so we used VMware 123 as the password for this account. And do our login. And we may get a pop-up on screen that tells us that we have incomplete language support. And if we get that, we can just close that. So we'll go ahead and close that and not worry about that right now. And then go to my virtual machine options at the top here and go to Install VMware Tools. And you'll note that from here, I'll just go ahead and press the Install button here. I should then see that the DVD gets mounted. Should pop up eventually. There it is. That's great. I'll go ahead and minimize this. Let's go ahead and open up the terminal. So I'll click in the corner here and I can search for terminal, or I can just select terminal emulator from the list. Let's log in as root. So we'll do a sudo su and make sure that I type that correctly. And enter that password one more time. And then at this stage, I'll go ahead and run through the commands we see here on screen. And when we come back, we'll progress forward. Okay, let's take a look at the commands that I ran. So after logging in as root using sudo su, I created a new directory in the MNT directory for the CD-ROM. Then I mounted the CD-ROM that is located under the devices to that new directory. You can see it shows here that it's been mounted. And then I can see here after running the ls command that we have a variety of files in here. And the one that I'm looking for is the VMware Tools tar file. And so this is gzipped. So what I'll do is I'll run a command to unzip this, and then we'll take a look at the next steps. Okay, in the next set of steps, I copied the gzip file. So we can take a look here and see that we have this zip file here. And it's really this tar file. And so what I'm going to do is copy that to the temp folder. And then after maneuvering into the temp folder, I run a ls command and I can see the different files that are placed inside there. And you can see the one that's kind of important for us is this VMware Tools file right there. And so what I'm going to be doing here is running a command that's going to unpack that tar file. You can see that command right over here. So I'll run that next. Okay, so you can see here that after running this tar command, which will unpack and decompress that VMware Tools file, you should see the results in your window here. And it's a fairly lengthy output, so don't be surprised by that. And so you can see here that's been done. All right, and the important file that I want is this VMware-install.pl. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and change directory into the VMware Tools distribution directory where that's located. Run an ls just to make sure I'm in the right directory, and you can see that this is an executable file that's ready for me to go ahead and run. So I've gone ahead and put its name here. Notice that it's a // to say in this directory I want to run this command right here, or this script. I believe it's a Perl script. And so I'll go ahead and hit the return key. And now I will be asked a series of questions. And if we take a look here, you can see here's all these questions right here. And so I'll just need to follow what is stated in the instructions here as far as what I should be entering. So I'll do that offline, and when we come back, we'll take a look at the results. But at this point, I'm just going to answer a series of questions. For instance, this one here, I need to enter yes. Do you still want to proceed with this installation? And I'll say yes and hit return, and it'll continue to ask me more questions. All right, when we come back, we'll take a look at the results of this. Okay, I just ran through most of or all of those questions and have completed the installation. Let's take a look here really quick. In most cases, the question will have a default response, and so in the case of the default responses, you're typically going to accept those. So here you can see where I mistakenly input an incorrect response, and the input should have just been to press enter and get a no versus typing that in. So just pay attention to the question and what they're asking. In most cases, the questions will require some kind of just click, the enter key. And periodically, you'll be required to actually type in a yes or a no response. That pretty much will do it. When you're done, you'll see at the very end a final message here. And when you see this, this tells you that you've completed the installation. Now, if I jump over here to my vSphere client and take a look at the guest OS summary page, you can see that now the VMware tools are running. And if you don't see that, go ahead and hit the refresh just in case it didn't catch up. And now, again, I can see that they're running, so I'm good to go. Now, the VMware tools, in this case, I believe we're running, we have version 10.357, and there's a small note in your lab instructions. This version is the officially supported version of the VMware tools. For the lab purposes, this pod does not have internet access, so I can't use the OpenVM tools. If I have internet access, meaning in production, you're typically going to use the OpenVM tools instead on a Linux client rather than using these VMware tools. So this gives us an opportunity, though, to see how to install the VMware tools, which typically you'll use for Windows clients. Okay, so that pretty much does it for installing. When we come back, we'll take a look at uninstalling the VMware tools.